Good afternoon, everybody. I'm usually not going live this late in the afternoon on YouTube, but today my schedule was all backwards and weird and got a whole bunch of stuff going on. And so I was planning on doing a live stream this morning, but I just couldn't get around to it. So I figured I'd pop on here this afternoon. So I'm going to just chill for a little bit and wait till a few of you guys show up here. Feel free to say hi in the chat. Let me know that you're here. But this live interactive stream is brought to you by a really insightful and I think just really great question that I got from one of you actually on one of my recent videos. And the question was, hey, Jesse, is it even worth getting started in sync right now? With all this stuff happening with AI, is this just sort of like too little too late? Am I kind of way late to the game? What are the pros and cons of getting started? I'm actually filling in all of these questions for this subscriber. His question was very to the point. Should I get started? Is it too late? But if you guys know me, there's really no such thing as a very clear, easy answer to most of these questions, especially something as important as this for you guys that want to, take sync licensing very seriously. What's up, LD? What's up, Seamus? Good to see you guys. Tariq, hey, what's up? Carlos is here. Good to see you guys. But for those of you that maybe are fairly new to sync licensing, this is definitely going to be a video you want to pay attention to. Or if you haven't even started yet, you've just been maybe watching some of my videos, learning about the industry, dabbling your toes and kind of going, is this something I really want to do or not? I think this will be a really, really valuable video for you. What's up, Pete? Good to see you. Source 4. And for those of you that have been already down the road for a few years, you're probably going to be curious about this right now too, right? A lot of you guys are probably somewhere in the corner of your mind going like, should I just bail? Is it like kind of, is this just sort of a sign that, I should just get out of this and do something else? What's up, Andrew? Good to see you. And I think it's totally normal to question that and to wonder about that and to think about that. Before we get into should you get started now and what do I think of the prospects and what are the pros and cons and who do I feel really should think twice about getting started right now or continuing on this path. You guys probably have known for a long time on this channel, I have said consistently that it's a small percentage of people that succeed in sync licensing. When I say succeed, I'm not talking about just people who are treating it kind of like a hobby and throwing some tracks out and maybe getting a couple placements. When I talk about success, I'm specifically talking about those of you that are trying to make this your full-time job. Like you really want to generate enough consideration fees, sync fees, and royalties to make a living off of and pay your bills. And for the people that are in that category, I think it's 3 to 5% still. As I've always said from the you can go back to one of my earliest videos on this channel. I made a video called, I think it was only 3% or 3 to 5% of my students are going to succeed at this. So that hasn't changed in all these years and everything. With or without AI, with the COVID bump where we had just tons and tons of producers and composers jumping into our industry, that hasn't changed at all. So I don't think that any of that, if anything, that's going to be even smaller in the advent of where we're going to go with AI. So I just want to sort of parse this out though into kind of two camps. So if you're watching this, you probably belong in one of these two camps and you can switch back and forth. And probably many of you guys have switched back and forth between these, but on the one hand, it's those 3 to 5%ers, the people that are like, no, this is like, it's sink or bust for me. That was where I was when I first got started. I needed something to pay the bills. I needed something where I could do music and sync was the only game in town that was giving me checks and contracts. So I was desperate enough to become the 3 to 5%. And then the other half is, people that are just, they don't need the money. You probably already got a full-time job or maybe you're retired or, this is just kind of enjoyable for you. It's more of a hobby. It's fun. It's kind of like maybe a dream to hear your music on a TV show or in a movie. So it's kind of like you're doing it, but you're not dedicating 20 to 40 hours a week cranking out, track after track and building up your catalog, okay? So I want to make sure that we have those two camps set out. So what's up, Deca? Vibez. Seth, good to see you, and JB Inc. And you guys have questions or comments, definitely post them in there about getting started. Should you keep going? Any specific questions or points, definitely put them in the chat. I'll be happy to address them. But let me give you my little spiel first, and then we'll get into your comments, okay? So with those two camps outlined, we don't know what exactly is going to happen with AI. So if you're just getting started in sync right now, you're thinking, well, it sounds like AI is going to take over most of the industry or a big chunk of the industry, or at least it's going to probably take over all of the background instrumental placements that we've been getting as human beings forever. So since I think that's where I would be, I just don't want to do this. And I totally understand that. And I even totally even agree to a certain degree of like why you would feel it's a big risk, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows if that's going to actually happen or not, right? I've been trying to wrap my head around all these different variables. One thing that's been giving me a little bit of comfort lately that maybe that won't happen, again, don't know, but if you guys don't remember, stock licensing sites for many years was the big fear for most of us because we were working with production music libraries, which is like, a little bit of a step above stock licensing, not to be insulting, but in terms of the price, in terms of the quality, generally, that's what you're going to see. And as these royalty-free stock licensing sites were popping up all over the internet, a lot of us that were working with libraries were going, oh, crap. Like all a TV company or network, a cable or reality TV show company has to do is just go discover Pond 5, Audio Jungle, and go pay for royalty-free music. They'll just pay a one-time fee per track. They'll never pay the royalties on it, and we're done. Like that, I remember feeling that, going like, I hope that doesn't happen because I could definitely see us being kicked to the curb very quickly for cheaper royalty-free music. But it didn't happen. For one reason or another, there were definitely some use cases where some TV clients and companies did use some, royalty-free and stock licensing music, but they were kind of edge cases. They weren't the most common thing that was happening, and production music libraries survived it all. They're still here, and it really didn't make much of an impact on our industry. So could the same thing happen with AI-generated music where, yep, it's cheaper, yep, it has no copyright, no royalties, and it'll even be cheaper than the stock music. It'll be a subscription. You'll pay $30 a month and get like unlimited amount of prompting you want, right? Is there a chance that that doesn't make a huge impact in the sync licensing business in terms of, what we do with production music libraries? Don't know. It's possible that it could be just edge cases like we saw with that Red Lobster thing where it's like, yeah, a bankrupt company using generative AI music might be, on the horizon. And so you'll see these edge cases where some struggling businesses or low budget productions use it. Yeah. And then maybe with the general, usual placements that we get with production music libraries, maybe that's going to be unfazed by all of this. And just the fact that generative AI music does not hold copyright could be enough of a stumbling block for that to be used in productions, right? So again, that could all work out for our favor. On the other hand, things could completely shift around where cable companies, reality TV show companies, networks that need a lot of background instrumental music where nobody really cares who makes it, and they just want to save a buck, they could go to a generative AI company, even one that's actually trained its music ethically and with consent and licensed it and paid for it. That could easily cut whole like 50% or more of our entire income out of this, right? So that's what's really tough about this moment that we're in right now for a lot of you guys. So I think a lot of people are asking or wanting to get like a specific answer for me to say, yes, you should do it, or no, it's too late, there's too many risks in front of us. But I'm sitting here in front of you as honest as I possibly can to say, I have no idea. I really don't know if this is the beginning of the end, or we're going to be unfazed and we're going to have some even bigger, brighter days ahead of us in sync licensing, or sync licensing will kind of morph into these new areas or virtual reality opportunities or video game opportunities where, we're going to see some new income streams that we never saw before. Again, I keep my eyes filtered through this opportunity lens. So I always want to look for opportunities. I want to be optimistic about our future, but that doesn't mean that I know how things are going to work out. So I can't tell you. You kind of have to do your own research. Hopefully this channel is one way you can kind of like get to know what's happening with the generative AI space. I'm going to obviously be making a lot of videos on it as it starts to, potentially impact us or creep into our lane, and what's working for our favor, what's working against us, because I just want to make sure that you guys are fully informed as best as I'm fully informed about what's happening and what that might mean for our future. But, so the future is uncertain. We have no idea. But if you do, let's just talk about the 3 to 5%ers of you that really want this to be your full-time income. I still believe it's a great time to get started if it's really something you're that dedicated to, you're that serious about, and most importantly, you create your music yourself. Okay, so if you're coming into the business thinking you're going to go use splice loops, specifically melodic loops, chord progression loops, vocal loops, don't do it. I'm just going to tell you, your chances of really doing well in this business are minimal, to say the least. So you really, if you want to take this extremely seriously, you got to create your own music, meaning you got to put your hands on your keyboard, write your own chord progressions, write your own melodies, program your own drums. And, if you're going to use like a percussion loop or, something like that, okay. But I'm talking about like the primary focus of your tracks cannot be created by anybody else through a loop system, even if you're legally cleared to use them. And I think that's going to include AI generated stuff. So if you're going to use something that generates chords for you or leads or whatever, I'll be honest, it's just not you. And I don't think people need more regurgitated stuff that you've kind of heard a million times before, sounds derivative, sounds like it could be anybody else. The chances of you really doing well approaching your music that way are next to nothing. So if you don't feel like you've got the skills, and it doesn't mean you have to have them, but if you're not willing to go learn the skills to fully customize and make your music, and so it's really coming as from much of you as possible, don't get started. It's too late for the construction kit producer where you're just stacking up loops and passing it off to a library. Those days are done. There's probably a little heyday where you could probably get away with that, but that's over. Don't do that. But on the other side, if you are a hobbyist and you're just kind of doing this for fun and once in a while it'd be great, but you're not that, you're not like pulling your hair out over it and really that spending as much time maybe as somebody who's trying to do it full time. I still think the same advice applies. Like, why do this if you're just going to use melodic loops, right? Like, have fun, make melodic loops and just make it for yourself. But going into a marketplace like a TV, film, production music library, catalog, and giving them somebody else's music is just kind of a waste of time. Like, you might get some placements. I'm not saying you won't get them, but you could get yourself into some trouble by using pre-made loops. And it really doesn't help you carve out your own unique sonic sound that you need to really bring to this business. So one way or another, however you choose your level of dedication to this industry, you need to make sure that you are bringing your, as much as you can, 90% plus handcrafted original human music to this business. So that is my best advice for that. But now let's talk about this. Let's say you do feel like you have something to bring, you are handcrafting your music, but you're still concerned about AI and you're like, well, should I be spending the next 2 to 5 years getting into this business if in just a couple of years it might crater us out and we have no more opportunities? Here's the upside to even the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is like 1 to 4 years from now, generative AI basically starts to take up most of the background instrumental placements. I can see that happening. I mean, I'm not saying it will, but that would be the first place, the obvious place where instrumental music could be replaced by AI, because most of the stuff in the background is so quiet and behind the scenes and not noticeable that nobody really cares, okay? And they're just going to save a lot of money by not using our music by doing that, okay? In that worst case scenario, 1 to 4 years, there is still time right now to partner with a production music library, get into their inner circle, and stack up as many placements as you possibly can. Because even in the worst case scenario, it's not like the placements that you receive that are already on the air and continuously, maybe hopefully in syndication or just at least airing for many months or maybe years. They're not going to just disappear just because AI is entering into our marketplace. PROs aren't just going to shut down because AI is now a factor we have to deal with. Like, there's still going to be blanket fees. They're still going to be charging the networks and the cable companies to be publicly performing our music. And so, I've shown you guys many videos on my channel here that I'm still getting royalties from stuff that got placed like 10, 12, 14 years ago, from early on in my career. I still get Judge Judy royalties from something that got placed like in 2013, something like that. So if you stack up some good royalties and some good placements in the next 1 to 4 years, those royalties can be a passive addition to your income for the next foreseeable many years. I don't know how many. It depends on if you get, I always think about that golden example is Seinfeld, the composer that wrote all the cues for Seinfeld. Seinfeld will never go off the air. It was on in the 90s and it'll never go off. So that composer, every single quarter for the rest of his life and probably for the rest of his kid's life and maybe grandkids' life, he's going to be receiving royalties for that show. So I'm not saying that I definitely don't have a placement like that, and I don't know if any of us will, but that's just sort of the idea behind sync licensing that was really attractive to me in the very beginning was hey, you can actually earn some passive income. And many of you that have been following me fairly closely know that I haven't been extremely as active as I normally have been with my own music with the libraries I work with since 2020. This year, I got a little more active with a couple of cool things I was working on. But these last 3 years, 4 years, I guess now, royalties stayed just as high as they usually are. And in one year, they actually bumped up more than they ever were. So I'm not working for it anymore. It's just music that's out there on TV, getting placed in various countries and in the US and all that kind of stuff. So I want you guys to keep that in mind, that even if this is an industry that will have its sort of doors shut to us in many ways in the next 1 to 4 years, those royalties can still keep trickling into your bank account for many, many years. And then as whatever that next endeavor we all decide to go take on or think about, those royalties can certainly help, right? I'm not mad at getting royalties every quarter in my bank account for stuff that I did years and years and years ago. It's a really good feeling. It's a really nice surprise. So I want to let you guys know that that's also on the table here. So I'm going to get to your chat now. That's my sort of pitch. And again, I can't give you a for sure you should, you shouldn't, but I've given you the best that I possibly can. And, just trying to keep it real with you guys about it's not going to be for everybody. And I think as time goes on, I anticipate more and more people are going to start bailing because of AI music, not because AI music might even come into our industry and start taking some of our gigs, but because they might start to realize that like, wow, AI music is better than me. What am I doing here? I'm trying to create something, but generative AI stuff is just better, faster, more compelling, more interesting. And I don't know if I have really anything interesting to give here. So it's not so much that you're going to be competing with AI, but it's going to be a mental battle of thinking, what am I bringing to this industry if that computer program is doing that impressive work? That's where it's going to be challenged for some people in the next couple of years. And I did make a video about this, and I think I still stand by this, that probably regardless of whether or not AI does come into our industry, I think it is going to wipe out about 50% of the sync licensing producers that are in our industry right now. And it's not just necessarily about competing with AI, but it'll be about like internal like self-sabotage of like, what am I doing if this thing can do it that well? So that's why I think I want to devote quite a few of my videos in the next couple of months, if not maybe a couple of years, to that very, very important topic of like the psychological battle that this is going to cause for us. It's already causing it for us, right? That video I put out yesterday, which was like hopefully trying to help give a little bit of calmness and confidence to us for what we're going to do moving forward. But it's not an easy fix. This isn't something you just watch one YouTube video and then, all right, I'm good now and I'm going to be on my way. It's going to be a constant battle back and forth. And as AI gets better and better, I guarantee you guys, when I hear AI at a level of like, that's better than what I can do, and it's going to be there, probably by the end of this year, at least 1 year from now, like sonic quality at least, it's going to throw me for a loop. Like I'm going to really go right back to the foundations of like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? We've never had to ask these questions before. We've never had to think about ourselves in comparison to an algorithm doing what we do with our art, right? So this is just all uncharted territory. Nobody has the roadmap for it. Nobody has the blueprint for it. I'm winging it. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to keep the conversation alive for you. And that's why I really wanted in that video yesterday to truly stress about how it's like okay to feel however you feel. Like if you're depressed, it's cool to feel, it's okay. It's normal to feel depressed. You're worried, definitely normal. Very, very understandable to feel worried. You're excited, awesome, that's cool. You're unfazed, that's awesome too. But just to give everybody a space to feel and say whatever they want to feel and say about it right now, because we don't have any answers. We just have a big laundry list of questions of what does this mean and what are we going to do? So anyways, let me get into your chat now. Thank you guys for hanging in with me. And if you guys have any specific questions about getting started, keep going, even if your personal scenario, I'm happy to kind of help out any possible way I can. All right. Hey, Sync 7, Mark. I think that's Mark. Mark, are you here? Just saw this come up, and yes, it's a big change in the business. We have to be very careful and watchful on it. Yes, absolutely, Mark. Andrew, stock music doesn't work well in every medium. For example, it's mostly unusable in video games because many stock tracks do not loop properly and are not tempo locked. Same problem as AI music too. Yep, absolutely. Troy Sounds, it's artistry against the machine. The world is always looking for more with less across the board. Stand together or we die. I don't know if I'm buying that framing where it's us against the machine. I think it's a tool. I think human beings can use tools, so I'm not against it. I'm not against AI. I know it might sound like lately I am. I'm still very pro. In fact, ever since I put that video out yesterday and kind of really spent some time thinking about how I want to approach this stuff. I am like way positive AI right now. I actually think not only am I positive, like I can't wait to invest in some AI companies, because I think there's going to be a chance to solve some really meaningful problems, and things that we've not been able to solve before. So I'm extremely positive. I'm not anti the machine. I am very pro the machine. It's a tool and I want to use it. I want to be somebody that helps use it or tries to, do whatever I can to steer us to use these tools in a very beneficial way for ourselves. Andrew says, the way I see it, even though fast food exists, there's still a demand for fine dining and homemade food. Yep. Same with AI music versus human music. There will always be a demand for human music. Yeah, I don't think we're debating whether or not people will want human music. That's definitely going to be there. What we're really talking about is it going to be needed in sync licensing? I mean, you guys can see the writing on the wall for stock licensing, right? When people have a podcast or they have an online social media campaign or anything and they need something cheap and easy and fast and royalty free, when they go to these sites, do you think that they really care that you created it or I created it? A few people do. If they're a musician themselves, they might have this principled stance of, I really want to make sure there was a human that gets credited for this. That's not most people, especially for low budget, background, just kind of something that fills the mood and it's just kind of a filler, right? Let's just be real. That's a lot of what we do in sync licensing. We are kind of the filler. We're just thrown into the background. We don't get credit. Nobody knows that my music was there. I mean, I just had my biggest placement ever. It's a theme placement on MLBN. My name's not on the credits. My name's not on the screen. You have no idea. When people are watching that show, do you think the fans of that show care? I mean, they might notice, hey, it's a new theme song. Oh, cool. Do you think they even have a thought as to which person did that or what they were doing or what's their backstory? That's our vulnerability here, guys. That's the honest truth, is we've got a vulnerable place that we were in because we don't have a lot of human to human connection. So yes, human music will be in demand, always. Will it be in demand as much or needed with sync, with stock? That is the sort of difference here. I want to make sure I'm clear on that, okay? Yele's here. What's up, Yele? Good to see you. Laura, good to see you. Luke Truan, good to see you. Troy Sounds, AI doesn't have a heart, doesn't have a soul, doesn't have feelings. Do you want meaningless music? Again, heart, soul, feelings. When it comes to just like me loving music, yeah, I'm not going to go to Udio's website and prompt in music and enjoy that. It's not that. I mean, it's more of a novelty thing, but no, I'm not going to feel this like, wow, that was really pulling me into a, really emotional, deep place. I want to see that there's, usually it's like with a music video and you see the human singing the song, right? But I don't, the word soul, I don't know. It's not really useful to me. Feelings, you're going to hear AI music that will move you emotionally. Okay. Example, it's already happened to me, guys. Now, I put it as a short on my YouTube channel. There was a ridiculous attempt at an AI generator to make a country hit song. And if you haven't seen it, go to my YouTube channel and look at my shorts. And Trevor, actually, from Get It Done, sent it to me. And I clicked play. I was literally laying in my bed. My 3-year-old daughter was taking a nap, so I was trying to be really quiet. I was kind of resting as well. And I clicked play on the song, and I started laughing so hard that my body started shaking. Like, you never had those laughs like in school where you got to hide it, but you're just like literally shaking, your whole body shaking. And it was for at least 2 to 5 minutes. I was laughing and shaking. I kept hitting replay. The reason why it was so funny is because it was getting it wrong. It's ridiculous lyrics and it's so off. It was just jamming together a bunch of cliches and words that don't really make sense. So it's kind of like watching like a toddler try to do something. It's just kind of funny and cute. But it really it made me laugh, and it was kind of shocking to go, this is AI music pulling an emotional response out of me. I'm not sitting here going like, I am unfazed by this. It was making me laugh. I'm laughing at this thing, okay? So this idea that we're not going to be emotionally moved by AI music, you're kidding yourself. You are absolutely kidding yourself. I'm not saying that it's the same as what I'm doing or what you're doing. Of course, it's spitting out music, but it is going to move people. It is going to emotionally change how you feel. Mark my words. You can mark this right there. Within a year, I think, you're going to listen to music. All of you guys watching, all 48 of you, which by the way, leave it a like if you don't mind. I only got 13 likes there. We got to even that out, right? Mark my words, within this year, you are going to listen to a piece of AI music and it is going to move you. Now, you might hate me for saying that. Sorry. But that is, because you can see the trend. The reason why I can be so confident about that is look at the trend, guys. What were we listening to a year ago? Music LM's white paper. Remember how crappy that music was? Remember many of you, let's be real, many of you guys here probably were laughing at me and going like, Jess, you're worried about that? That's what you're talking about? That's what you're dedicating all these, videos to? That's not even 8-bit video game music. That is laughable. I'm not worried about that. Even people are saying that in that short upload that I had, like, this is what we're worried about. Now where are we? Listen to what Udio's doing. Listen to what Suno's doing. Listen to what these models are doing. We've taken a bit of a step up, haven't we? In 1 year, where have we come from? Nothing laughable, not even music, not even coherent, to there's a chord progression now. There's a lyricist. There's a vocalist. There's a beat. There's something that's starting to feel a little bit more listenable. That's 1 year. So do we think that there's going to be some cap on this? They're just going to be like, couldn't get past that last little barrier. Sorry, guys. This is as good as it's going to get. Hope this works for all the rest of you. No, this is technology. This is exponential increasing of technology. And so we are absolutely going to see things blow past. But it doesn't mean that we don't have a purpose or a place in all this kind of stuff. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that. Just because it emotionally moves you, it doesn't mean that but again, that's where that self-internal crisis is going to hit many of us multiple times, myself included. So we're going to wonder if this thing that's not human and doesn't have a soul is making me feel, what am I going to do? And that is going to be what either washes people out and has them go, you know what? I should go do something else. This is just not my thing anymore. Or it's going to have people double down and say, you know what? I'm putting the foot on the gas pedal. I'm going to go even harder. I'm going deeper. I'm going to go even more bold, even more creative. So that's what I wanted to be very clear on that. 1 second. Let me just turn on my fan. It's get a little warm in here. All right. All right. Troy Sounds. I'm a producer that started in this game 40 years ago. I would do this for 15 an hour. That's how much I love music. When the love of money supersedes the love of art, you hear it. Right on, man. JMO, will AI eliminate the music supervisor role? It could. Think about right now. How many pain points? Pain points are just like things that suck in a business. How many pain points come from music supervisors? Hundreds, because they have to go find the right track. They have to clear the right track. They have to go do double checking to make sure there's no hidden publishers, hidden co-writers, songwriters, track people down, get the clearance on it, negotiate the fee. Go talk to a supervisor. How easy is their job? It's not, right? And there's a lot of pain working with human composers. So for some projects, and if they feel that they're legally clear to use it, why wouldn't they? That's a great point. And I do think that's a realistic thing that could absolutely happen. We're kidding ourselves. We don't think that the way that music supervisors exist right now might not be as necessary, or their job role may evolve where they are starting to use some generative AI music in some form, or I don't know, right? But we're all getting disrupted, guys. It's not just us, our little corner where it's like, well, we are the production music library composers. How come we're the only ones that have to deal with this change? Supervisors probably are a bit nervous right now. Networks and cable companies and Hollywood in general, everybody right now is, side-eye looking around going, what do we do now? Do we need a change? Is this the end? Or, everybody is a little bit on edge right now and trying to figure out what do we do in this new changing landscape. Everything's dynamically moving. Yele, chess computers are better than any human. Did we stop playing and stop organizing tournaments? Nope. People love watching people play. Yeah. And this is an easy prediction for the future. And Yele, I absolutely agree with you there. Chess is the best example that I usually find a lot of comfort in, is that, computers have been beating the best chess players since the 90s. And it didn't stop it. And in fact, it made chess even more popular, because now you can use AI to play against the computer, get yourself better, harness your skills, and then go play human beings. And you guys can really challenge each other, human to human. It's going to happen for music as well. You could probably use AI to basically make you a better producer, and have a custom personalized teacher and composer, and having somebody, imagine like if I were to, for myself, not that any of you guys would want it, maybe some of you would, but I create an AI version of myself where you can plug me right into your DAW. And with all the feedback I've given to all of our members through all the years, and maybe even Yele and all the other pros we've had, you can just click it on. It'll listen to your track, and it'll pop up and say, hey, this is working. This is working. You might need to think about this a little bit differently. This is going to make your track a little bit more licensable, a little bit more this or that. imagine having that just on a click of a button, and you can get some professional feedback from not just me, but I'm sure whatever, Hans Zimmer will have one. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people that have some great expertise will have products like this where you can basically just get literally, that's what AI is really the most exciting part about it, is it is breaking open, and I hate the word, but democratizing, spreading out human expertise. And it's bringing the cost of human expertise down to basically zero. So you can get access to the smartest scientists, lawyers, doctors in the world, musicians, composers, for next to nothing in the very near future. That is a really cool future I'm excited about. JMO, do I feel it's different than previous tech revolutions that we've changed with? It feels like it'd be the complete replacement, possibly. Nah, I don't think it's, I mean, it's definitely gonna be different. Like every revolution is different from the previous one. So you can't just say, well, this happened, and so this is gonna happen. It's not total replacement. I know people are predicting like it's gonna be the end of everybody's jobs and we're all gonna be replaced by AI and all this kind of stuff. There's gonna be job losses for sure. Every revolution, industrial revolution and on, has job loss. There's going to be certain ways of doing business, certain industries altogether that just don't make any sense anymore economically. But what happens every time we go through these changes and productivity increases is we just grow the economy. We just figured out new industries to invent, and we have new job titles. I mean, what I'm doing right now as a YouTuber, I don't call myself a YouTuber, but technically that's kind of what I'm doing, was not a thing that people did 20 years ago. Like you couldn't even describe it 20 years ago. Even if the internet was starting to evolve, you're like, in the future, people are going to put themselves in front of a camera and talk, and that'll be how they make their living. There's people right here on this, website that do that for a living. But check this out. How many of you guys growing up in the 90s loved playing video games? And we were always told, yeah, but you're not going to get a job in video games. So it's fun, but you're going to do something else. And now you can literally sit down in front of your computer, play a video game, stream it, and be a multimillionaire. There are multimillionaires playing video games right now. This is what human beings like doing, is we like inventing new ways of making money, monetizing. Anything that we find value in, we will create some sort of a community around it. And you better believe music is not going away. It's not going to be unpopular suddenly. If anything, I think it'll be more popular. And we'll value it more, because now we have to consciously decide to not make perfect music with AI, but we want to make our imperfect, flawed human music. And I think that's actually going to be really good for us. Glad to help, Tariq. Glad this was helpful. Alex, is there a tutorial for video games? Yes, we do have a series of tutorials for how to compose for video games in Sync Academy. So check those out if you're on the platform. Pete saying, I feel until there's a definite solution to understanding where the AI companies are getting their data from, TV networks will not want anything to do with it. Look how using samples is a no-no. Great point, Pete. And stay tuned, guys, because in about a week, hopefully, as long as all goes well, I'm going to be breaking open something pretty interesting. I've actually got my own little source of almost like a journalistic story revolving around AI, revolving around a very popular AI generative company. And we might be blowing the lid off of something that might break the internet. So it's a little teaser for you guys. Stay tuned. Next week, you're gonna hopefully be very entertained by that. Luke Truon, what about when it becomes a subscription for companies? They could hire a glorified button presser. What are your thoughts on that? It's an absolute possibility. Absolutely. That's why we got to be prepared for that. And you guys need to know that is absolutely something that can happen. I don't know if it will, but we got to prepare for what I like to do in life is I like to think of the worst case scenario and go like, all right, horrible worst case scenario. How do I survive that? Because as long as I can do that, then my anxiety levels go down to almost nothing. Because I'm like, well, I'm going to get ready for it. If it doesn't happen, I'll even be better prepared to thrive. But if it does happen, it won't catch me off guard. And so that's why I've been really grateful and glad that I have been spending as much time thinking about this and getting educated on AI as I have, because, it's still challenging, but it doesn't feel like it's a absolute like, oh my gosh, what's happening to us? It's like, yeah, I've been seeing this coming for at least a year now, Any stats on how much of the sync industry is made up from stock versus production music library versus custom bespoke? I don't know what that is. I know that, you just think about the numbers. Most music is background instrumental music, and these days background vocal music, but I couldn't give you the specific breakdowns. It's a great question though. Nico, certain industries will come out of this innovation like the DAW. I made an entire business on selling MIDI packs that didn't even exist pre-DAW. So those will adapt, will survive. Yep, absolutely. And we will have new DAWs and new ways of making music that will open up whole new, paradigms for us to be involved with. All right. Source 4, maybe off topic, but just wanted to ask that if you have 685 tracks out there in the world, do all the versions of the track count in that number, or do I really have 3,425 tracks out there? Just asking. Yeah, you could basically decide. It could be either one, because if they're all alt mixes, I'm guessing you're including stems there. Stems can get placed, but they're not as likely to get placed. It makes you feel better. Say you got 3,000 tracks, go for it. But, fully completed tracks, 685 is probably a better number, which is a really awesome number. That's nothing to be, I think my total is around 1,000 in my entire career. So you're closing in on me. So that's a great accomplishment. Do you think that investing is from Seth? Do you think that investing in tracks with newer publishing companies will be a bigger risk than before compared to a veteran libraries? Or does AI not factor into this risk specifically? It's a good question. I don't know if I have a very intelligent answer for that. Some newer companies that are by newer, I mean the last 3 to 5 years, they might be more nimble and able to adapt to some of these new technologies. But I've seen some of the bigger, the Universals, APMs, that kind of thing, start incorporating AI search tools into their catalogs to help their clients find music more readily. So I don't think it's across the board. I think you should think more about who do you get more personalized one-on-one attention from. If it is Universal Music, maybe work with Universal Music. If it's not a huge one like that, maybe go for a smaller boutique one that can give you the time of day, essentially, that answer your emails in a timely manner, get on the phone with you, all that good stuff. I think relationships are really more important, by far, more than all this stuff. Nicholas is saying, I hear large libraries are rejecting AI submissions over copyright concerns. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I made a video about that, saying if you are using AI generative tools at all in your music, better ask the libraries that you're working with. Do not assume that it's cool. And very important here, I had one subscriber email me saying, but I'm paying this company a monthly subscription, and their terms of service say that I get exclusive copyrights of the music I generate with their model. That's wonderful. The courts and the Copyright Office don't agree with that. Okay, so who do you want to believe right now? A pop-up AI generative company that's making up their terms of service and charging you for them, or the Copyright Office of the United States of America that's saying if it's generated by AI, it's not copyrightable? It's one of these things that is driving me nuts about a lot of these generative AI companies right now. They are either charging a subscription or even sometimes a per track fee that say, hey, did you want the copyright for that thing you prompted? Give us $50 and we'll give you the copyright. My question is, can you really do that? Who owns the copyright? Because the Copyright Office is saying nobody. So what exactly are you giving me in exchange for that $50 or for my subscription fee? What exactly am I really getting here? So we're in the Wild West. Proceed with caution and always ask a library if you're using anything that's AI generative. Lyrics, chord progressions, vocals, anything, okay? Just be safe. BLA saying that in Europe, the AI laws are starting to get in place in 2025, and this includes music protection as well. I've been reading some of that, ELA, yep, and we just had our bill passed, or not passed, introduced to potentially force generative AI companies to reveal their training data. So that'll be interesting if that goes through. And yep, it's the next 1 to 4 years. I think that's when right now the technology is growing so fast, but it's like, okay, we got to build infrastructure, and that's where lawsuits and copyright laws and all this kind of stuff, it needs to be kind of laid down. We sort of need to lay down the train track so that the industry can grow safely and clearly on top of it, so we're not just kind of blown apart at the seams. But I think that's what we will be seeing. A lot of laws, a lot of regulation, a lot of debate about all this kind of stuff. J-Mo saying, I can see when AI takes over video content, the need for sync music will just be delegated to AI music as well. It's possible, music is different from video. And again, it comes down to OpenAI released that ridiculously impressive, forgot what it's called now. I want to keep saying it's Sora. Where did they train? That one interview that I was making a comment on, the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, had no clue, or not that she didn't have a clue. She wouldn't say where they got their data. Were you just training it off of the open internet, on YouTube, on Instagram, everywhere, and she wouldn't say it. You know, we can all have our opinions on probably likely what's happening, but that's something we got to figure out how that's going to work, if copyright is going to be respected in this new paradigm. Let's see. Yeah, Mike is saying hopefully AI can eventually help with copyrights and royalties in a way that independent artists can truly get rid of the middleman and get paid direct anytime their music is played anywhere in the world. That'd be great. I think you would need the decentralized, you know, sort of blockchain technology for that, so that you just put your music on the blockchain, somebody uses it, it automatically gets detected, you automatically get paid instantly and quickly every time it's licensed. I see that as an awesome future. I've been waiting for that future for 5 years now, so we'll see if that's something that actually will kind of make its entry into our world. But yeah, I could be excited about that for sure. Pete's asking, who do you think will be responsible for creating AI music for TV shows if a network decides to cut costs and sign up music editors? A supervisor, or who would own that music? Well, right now, nobody would own the music, which is not necessarily a bad thing for a TV company, because that means there's no royalties. There's nobody that'll claim, hey, that's my track, you owe me royalties. And nobody's going to say you owe me a sync fee for placing that, because there's no owner to it. So who would generate it? Well, I could see somebody just basically either hiring a full-time prompter, you know, some kid, somebody that knows how to prompt one of these machines, all day long, just prompting, working with all their editors and say, what do you need? Okay, taking notes and prompting basically entire libraries of music for them so they could just create it when they need to. That could be one thing. The editors themselves might be able to use some of these tools where they just say, like, you know, I kind of want, you know, upbeat, fun, optimistic EDM dance party track, but don't have a lot of high frequency instruments. It needs to work well under the dialogue. Here's 10 of them. Any of these work? Yeah, this will work. I could see an editor having a little plugin in his you know, video editing software doing this as well. So definitely possibilities. But at the same time, the no copyright issue could be a stumbling block, that they don't want to take a risk because, well, what if one of these songs that you generate with this model resembles a copyrighted track, and then we get sued because we're using unauthorized music, and right, it gets a little bit more messy in that scenario. So I don't know if we have it really ironed out as far as where that's going to go. And Nicholas, I think you're asking about the headache of non-copyrighted music. I think I was just addressing that. AI music might replace the royalty-free music. Yeah, I could see that happening, or at least be an addition to it. It's just going to be, do you want to use stock music, or do you want to use the AI-generated, like, you know, a website that's $20 a month? Like, that'll be kind of something that people will consider. And that, you know, for the royalty-free stock sites to compete, they're going to probably have to reduce their subscription fees or their per-track licensing fee to stay relevant. And we'll see if they'll be able to remain relevant with that. I think the problem is most chess players aren't trying to make a living from it. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people, most people probably playing chess aren't doing it, mostly for the enjoyment of the game. But some are, you know, and right now, if you are a really popular and great chess player, you could start a YouTube channel and create a following, and you can monetize your YouTube channel. You can get sponsors. You could have super chats. You could have membership things. You could have private, you know, whatever, people pay for their membership on your channel or your Patreon, and you give them some private lessons in the back or something like that. So yeah, maybe not directly paying, playing chess provides for your income, but there are these new avenues that you just sort of plug into your chess playing abilities, and you can actually monetize it. So you got to be creative. You got to work hard. It's not easy, but it's there for sure. What's my take on beat producers? I don't know if I really have a take on beat producers. If they love it, they love it. They should keep doing it. Yeah, Andrew's saying ChatGPT inside of a DAW would be cool. To have an AI talk about my track. I think that is much more useful than just having AI generated tracks. Yeah, there's going to be all different types of implementations of this technology. Unfortunately, you know, most of what we all notice is the generative companies that are just making tracks, but there are a lot of companies that are trying to create synths and DAWs and sound design, and and tools for us to help with our music creativity. And they are going to be coming, and there's definitely going to be a moment where we all go like, wow, I can't wait to get my hands on that thing. I don't know if I necessarily have seen that yet, but I think that's coming probably by the end of this year or next year. And Mike saying, if anything, people's appreciation for live music will increase since electronic music will become easy disposable to make because of AI. I absolutely agree. I think we'll want more live music. We'll want more creativity from human beings for sure as a result of all this. Is it possible to watermark music in the future to flag if it's AI or not? Maybe an industry standard that will have to be adopted. Possible. Enforceable? That's tricky, but I do know there's a lot of generative AI companies that either generate art or videos that are, as just sort of a standard operating procedure. It's not being enforced upon them, but they're just sort of embedding either metadata or a watermark of some sort where you can basically just reverse engineer it and find out, oh yeah, it's AI generated. So yeah, I think some companies will just voluntarily do that. There might be a thing where some certification company like the Fairly Trained company that I interviewed on my channel last week might spring up where it's like, hey, if you are putting a watermark that's clearly identified in your generative AI music, we give you a stamp to say you absolutely are clearly indicating what you're doing here. And maybe those are the ones that people would rather work with, but will it be mandated by law? That's a tricky one, because even if you mandate something like that by law, there's open source models that are going to spring up that already spring up. And there's going to be some 13-year-old kid out of India that's running it. And he doesn't have to follow US law. He's not going to be required to do that. So he can generate music all day long or put out a website that can generate music all day long that will not have a watermark. So that's a tricky one. I don't know where we're going to go with that one. Luke is saying, connecting the dots. Google owns Udio. Does Google own Udio? Can anybody confirm that? I know that the Udio is an ex-Google employee, but I was not aware that, I'm not sure that Google owns Udio. But they are a minority stakeholder in BMI. It could go in many different directions. Yeah, I don't know. If somebody was asking that too, if they're trying to create some sort of a monopoly in the music industry. I don't know. I have no idea what their interest in BMI was. They can't train off of music with BMI. BMI doesn't have any music. They're not a catalog. They're just somebody that has a lot of metadata. And maybe that's what they wanted. They wanted royalty data. I have no idea what they really were looking for there. But glad to help. Isomatic, glad that you're enjoying this. Is it too late to start and sync now? Demetrio, you got to watch the beginning of this stream. I had a whole 5 to 10 minute spiel just on that. So I won't repeat myself. Go check that out. Ishimura Beats. I made side income as a beat producer and wanted to get into sync. Now I see it more of a hobby and have the feeling that if I get into sync, I would be just a waste of time for me. And that's totally cool, Ishimura. That's how you feel. I endorse and support your decision to not do it. It's not going to be for everybody. Even without AI, I was probably saying the exact same. I think I've probably been saying the exact same thing this entire time, is to say, chances are most of you guys aren't going to really want to do this for the long run, because you guys know what the most common story is. You hear about sync licensing and you get excited, right? And it's 2, 3, 6 months, a year. You're going hard. You're cranking out tracks. You partner with a library. You get accepted. You're just buzzing, you're throwing tracks at them, and then a year and a half goes on, you lose a little momentum, and then 2 years, and it's just a grinding halt because you didn't get any placements and you're not seeing almost any income, maybe none at all. And you go, the hell with this, I got to go do something that's paying me. So you leave and you go do stock, or you go do whatever, your own artist music or touring or whatever. Just do something else because you're like, that was obviously a waste of time. And then very commonly about a year, 2 years later, you get a royalty check, and it's a decent royalty check. You're like, what the hell? How did this happen? And you go running back to the library that got you the placements to go, oh, okay, I just didn't see it. Now I'm ready now. I really want to do this now. Most common story. Almost everybody does that. And if you have that story, you're probably lucky, because most people don't even get that far in this business, but it's an extremely common story. The amount of time and effort and patience and delayed gratification it requires to thrive in this business is kind of unfair. It's just not, it's ridiculous how much you have to put up with to make this your full-time job. So if you can right now in your gut go yeah, that's not for me, listen to that, follow that. I'm not going to talk you out of it. just follow that gut instinct for sure. JMO is saying, if the government sides with fair use, will that be a major blow? Yes, for sure. It's going to be something that essentially sparks and sends a signal to the rest of the industry and to the world. Have at it. Go train off of anything you want to and create. I mean, in some ways, this is what's going to be sad about it, but I can definitely see it happening. If it's literally fair use, law, you can do it. Sync licensing producers and catalogs themselves will probably try to go train off of other catalogs or something like that and create their own, subscription-based thing and go just try to take out the marketplace, and it'll be a race to the bottom as quickly as possible. Again, with all that said, no copyright associated with the music you're generating might be the linchpin. It might be the death nail that, legitimate TV and film clients will want nothing to do with. So I don't know for sure, but I definitely see that as a very sad, dark day if the courts do side that way. My personal opinion right now is I don't think they're going to go that way. I think we've got a better than 50-50 shot at them siding with us in terms of saying no. Creating a for-profit model, training off of copyright music is going to require a license and consent, but I don't know the future. So that's why I'm really following it very closely. Yeah, and Luke is saying, what about when Unreal Engine is combined with Udio or something similar? For sure, I could see something like that, right? You're making your video game and you need some cool background music, and it's just like this little plugin. Like, did you want music like, you want it dark and menacing? And you just go, yeah. And it goes like this. Yeah, something else. And it just remixes it. Something like that very quickly. For sure, I can see that happening. Will you do a course for blockchain music or music NFT, something like that? No. NFT turned out to be one of the biggest, bubbles in history. So I'm glad I didn't really take that one that seriously. And blockchain, it's like, I actually know somebody personally who's working on that technology. So I'm not saying it's like not going to be possible or it's going to be something that's in our future, but I'm not going to spend any time on something that's a theoretical, maybe this could be a way, I'm not spending any time on that. If it's here, all right, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. But I just don't have the time. I have limited time and resources these days, so I'm not going to look into future potential, places we could maybe monetize our music. It's got to be something that I see happening right now. Somebody's making money. It's actually working right now. Troy saying we cannot have job loss because it creates a dysfunctional world. You see how car manufacturers pulled out of Detroit and what we have that's ravished with drugs and murder. Yeah, job loss is a big problem, and it's definitely going to be a big challenge that we have to deal with. But we can deal with it. This is the kind of spirit that I'm going to push back against the doomer. I'm not saying that you're a doomer there, but I'm just saying this common thing. It's like, it's going to be bad. We're going to have this, and oh my God, all this job loss and this, that. Yep, it's going to be bad. And you know what? We got through World War II, guys. I'm still here. My parents and my grandparents got through it. Like literally that was the end of the world, right? Nuclear war, Holocaust, war, death, destruction. Got through it. I'm not saying there was no casualties. There are casualties. But let's bring a little bit of this energy back into this conversation. Yeah, we can do it. It's going to hurt. It's going to suck. But come on, this is mankind. We don't go down. We're cockroaches here. We're not going to get swept away that easily. We'll figure out a way to get through it. We're going to find we have plenty of entertainment these days. Even if you lose your job for many months or years, and it's a long time before you figure out where you land on your feet, you'll be plenty entertained. You'll have plenty of stuff to do. You can play video games. You'll watch TV. You'll do whatever you want to do. I'm not trying to minimize the pain it's going to be on, but I think we can bring a little bit more bravery to this. We don't have to be so scared of a potential, future that we have. No, there is no future. We don't know what the future is, so it doesn't exist right now. But what we have is right now, and what we do know is that we and our parents and our ancestors survived basically hell to allow us to be here. So can we do the same thing? Don't you think we could do this, guys? I think we can. At least I'm keeping my head up in that spirit for sure. Hopefully you guys feel that. Let's see. Do I have a point of view on AI generated sound effects versus AI music? If they're training off of somebody's existing sound effect library and it's copyright protected, same as us, I'd say, nope, gotta go pay, gotta go, because that's somebody's work. Like somebody spent a lot of time putting those sound effects together, recording them and mixing them and uploading them. So it's like, yeah, I would feel the same exact way. That's like somebody's actual very valuable asset that you are training your model on and making a for-profit competitive product on the other end of it. Yele says, his advice for now, record as much live instruments as possible and also mention this to your followers, to your following clients. One live cello over 10 virtual strings can make a big difference. Great advice right there. More live stuff, less VSTs for sure. Tariq is asking, do you know of companies to invest in regarding AI music or anything else related to music production? Not off. I mean, I know a lot of companies that are doing cool stuff, but in terms of investing in them, I don't know. I'm not like some investing expert. I couldn't give any helpful thoughts there. I think it's kind of like too early to make any sense of any of this. This is like Netscape days. AOL. Remember my AOL? You know, that's how everybody accessed the internet. And like, if you were like, yeah, AOL is going to be the whole thing. And like, well, it was for a while and then it's gone, right? It ended up being Google. Google was actually the better play for you, right? So we might be kind of in this very, very early place where like we think it's OpenAI, that's the big company, or we think it's NVIDIA or Microsoft, right? We think it's these companies that are kind of taking all the headlines. But you know, talk to me in 5 years, they might all be in the dust, and we might have some like decentralized open source models. I don't know if you guys have been following, but the open source models are catching up to OpenAI's model very quickly, if not already caught up. So there's not going to be this big difference between closed and open source. There's going to be, you know, kind of very competitive elements on all sides of this. So yeah, for me, it's like, it's too early to understand or make sense out of any of this stuff. It's just too chaotic right now. We're in the bubble phase of it, right? The bubble phase means there's way too much money being thrown at everything because everybody wants to make $1 billion. But of course, there will be a pop and the dust will settle and the real value makers will sort through all that and come back. And that'll be probably at least 5 to 10 years before we see like really where the value of this is going to be. None of that's investing advice. You came here for sync licensing advice, not financial advice. Mr. X, we can't stop AI, so what should we do to learn to cooperate with it, or like a tool or something? What AI skills should we have to study more deeply? I don't get what to do. It's a good question, Mr. X. You know, prompting is going to be something that we're going to use as these tools come into our DAWs, but they're not quite there yet. So, you know, right now, I think it's more about like for me, I mean, I've used, what is it called? Automy, which is like you can flip a voice into AI, but I'm using that for my own demos. I'm not sending it off to a library. I would not send it to a library. You know, kind of just sort of playing with some of these tools and seeing what works and all that kind of stuff. I think that's something that's probably going to be useful because as these models or these tools come into our DAWs, it won't feel so formed to prompt something in or to say something that you really want. But I don't know. I think right now it's just kind of more about like keeping your eyes open and your curiosity about it open and not letting the depression and anxiety and the overwhelming feelings of it like kill your creativity. I think that's really the most important thing for us to do right now, maybe even more than even like playing with any of these tools, is like figuring out a way right here between your ears to find a clear runway, like a clear path in front of you as the next year and the next couple of years come into our world of figuring out how are we going to get through this? How am I going to maintain my cool from, you know, we're going to have awesome, amazing stories come out about this to very depressing ones that makes us feel like it's the end of the world. How are we going to get through all that? That's why I'm talking about the things that I'm talking about on this channel right now. And the video I put out yesterday, couldn't have put that out sooner. That's more important than learning how to use any of these tools. And I'm sorry, the people that are like, you got to use AI or else you're going to get run over. Please, like, take that somewhere else, okay? We don't need the rah, like, you know, Gary V, you know, pump you up, get you all excited on productivity speech. We don't need that right now. This is tough. This is very hard. This is very tricky. So not all of us are just going to pick up AI and start using AI. We're all excited about, okay? Some of us are going to have a moment here, right? And it might be a couple of weeks, might be a couple of months, it might be a couple of years. And we have to kind of like reorient ourselves to this new landscape of knowing what computers are now capable of. And it's cool to take your time. I'm not rushing anybody through this kind of stuff. Take a year off, take 5 years off, whatever you want to do. Chill, like just take your time with it. You don't, I hate this extra pressure. It's like, it's already scary enough. And then you get these people saying, You've got to do something now or else you're going to get run over. Chill out. You're not going to get run over, okay? Um, you're going to get run over if you're like going 1,000 miles an hour right now, just thinking you have to go 1,000 miles an hour. You're going to burn out and hit a wall so quickly, okay? So the people that are doing that, ignore them, okay? It's just noise. Don't worry about that. Do you, stay on your own path, stay true to what feels right to you. If you want to stop making music, stop making music. It's totally cool. That's the other thing I don't get on board with, people saying like, well, if you feel like you can quit music, maybe you shouldn't be a music producer. Maybe you have no business being in this industry. It's like, I have been somebody that's been struggling time to time with wanting to know if I should keep making music, or had a couple of those days where I was excited to make music, saw a story about AI and said, oh, what's the point? Why should I even do it now? I've had those moments. Am I not a musician? Am I not a producer? Should I not have gotten in this? Do I have no business being in this industry? Come on, let's just stop that. Let people feel how they're going to feel. We're all going to feel differently at different times in this. And let's not lose our humanity in all of this. That's really what I'm trying to say. It's hard, it's tricky, it's stressful, but we can at least hold on to our humanity, right? To say like, hey, this is hard. And if you want to feel like you want to take some time off, go take some time off, go live your life, do some meditation, spend time away from music. Music is this like love-hate thing that we all have, right? We're in love with it sometimes, then we hate it. It's just like this like abusive relationship sometimes. Sometimes you got to take a break from even the people that you love or music that you love. Take a break. You never know. In a year after no music in your life, you'll go, okay, I'm ready now. I now know what it feels like to not have it in my life. I had to know what that felt like. And now I understand the real value of making music, regardless of what it happens to it or if it gets synced or what happened. I know that it's something that I really need to do. And now I have this fundamental wisdom that I will not forget. Maybe this is what you need to go through to rediscover this is something that's really invaluable to you. And for others, they'll realize, music wasn't that important to me anyways. Like, that was fun, but I'm going to go do something else. That's cool too. Like, it doesn't matter. It honestly doesn't matter. It's your guys' life. It's your, future. It's your passion for all this kind of stuff. So, if anything, just listen to yourself. There's too much noise right now on the internet with all this kind of stuff. So I'm actively trying to quiet all of that crap out of my life and really just listen to my internal dialogue, and obviously talk to my actual friends and family members, people that I actually have relationships with, about these really personal kind of emotional issues that I go through. And I hope you guys have somebody as well that you can kind of reach out to, but the internet is not usually a place to do that. Okay. Sorry to burst the bubble there. I know there's some intimacy that we all have here on the internet, but we are not intimately in each other's lives right now. So anybody giving you this kind of nonsense, it's like, I don't know. It's just, it is what it is, right? Right on. Nico says, we have survived much worse as humans. Right on. Mike says, pandemic, then inflation, now AI. Please stop. And guess what, Mike? The next one, it's going to be just as bad. And the next one is going to be, it's funny. They never run out of things to freak us out with. Isn't that really interesting? It's almost like something is being planned with all this. No, I know it's just how it is. Like, the reason, also keep this in mind. This is what gives me some joy, or not joy, but some comfort in all this. The reason why I'm alive and why you are alive watching this is because your ancestors were extremely paranoid, like a 12 out of 10 paranoid level. They heard a little noise in the bushes. They assumed it was a tiger and ran the hell out of there. The people way back in the day that were like, whatever, it's probably just some wind, they got eaten by the tiger, and that's why they're not here anymore. Okay. The reason why we hear of something scary and our fight or flight brains go, oh my gosh, what does that mean? Okay, how do I plan? What do I do? That is an actual survival mechanism that has kept us alive. It's actually a gift. I mean, it sucks because it gets activated so often now with the internet and news and all that kind of crap, which sucks. But it is a gift, actually. It's actually what kept us alive and what allowed you and I to have this moment right now. So when that thing gets activated and we start feeling dysregulated and just overwhelmed with all this kind of stuff, I sometimes remind myself, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that thing that keeps me alive. Okay, it's uncomfortable. It's here for me though. It feels like it's not working for me right now, but that actually is the thing that allowed me to be here to even have this fear and this anxiety to have right now. So it'll pass. It always does. And remember, like, go easy on yourself. It's like that's actually a feature of our brains. It's not a bug. It's actually the thing that has kept us out of danger. But of course, because it's so overactive and it sees everything as a potential danger, that's why it gets stressful. And that's why we feel like we're in a much more stressful life situation right now, even though we're not running away from tigers anymore. I agree with you, Decca. Try to find a curious mindset and let your thoughts be open to what we know. We always survived back in the day. Absolutely. Go watch, what really is fun for me to do is, not that I ever have a lot of free time, but if I do get free time, I love watching documentaries about people in history and how they lived and how horrible living situations were and the kind of crap that our ancestors had to go through. Like, it's so interesting because the minute you get just an inch of perspective of like what our lives are now compared to what our ancestors' lives were, you immediately you just kind of get out of your own way and out of your own narrative and realize, all right, we're okay. Things are pretty good actually, and things are actually great in many, many ways. But it's hard to realize that because everybody is saying, the news, social media is saying, it's bad, it's about to get worse, this is horrible, because that's what gets our clicks, that's what gets our fight or flight. We all know that's how the game is. So we have this distorted reality because we're looking through these black rectangles on our screens, and it's just saying bad, it's going to get bad, it's going to get worse. It's worse today than it was yesterday. It might even get worse tomorrow. Do you know how bad it's going to get tomorrow? It's going to get worse than that. Imagine, have some empathy for ourselves. Like, of course we feel weird and completely stressed out right now because that's all we hear all day long. And it's even sadder that's coming from like us. Like, it's because you always thought like, well, of course the news does that, right? If it bleeds, it leads, right? And we knew that like the news was just going to give us a whole bunch of garbage and fear to kind of get us to watch it or click on it or whatever. But like, YouTube is us. It's me. It's all of us. And we are amping up. I don't know if you noticed, I've noticed in the last couple of years, YouTube's like fear porn has been off the chains. People's thumbnails, their titles. And of course, it's for the clicks. It's for the ad revenue. It's for the sponsors. But what is it doing to us in terms of how we all feel like the world's getting worse? Is it objectively getting worse? Go look at the stats, and you might see some different evidence. Yellie's watching the Eurovision Song Festival, and this is way better than what those singers crank out. I'm not familiar with that one. Faith versus fear. That's right, Carissa. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's funny, King 10, you're saying like AI is here to destroy us. Haven't you seen Terminator? That's our biggest problem. Is all of our lives we grew up with Hollywood's dystopian view of the future with AI. And you don't think that makes a difference. It actually is the biggest difference maker. That's what we're all thinking about when we hear the word, the letters AI. If we had grown up with optimistic, beautiful, utopian future scenarios of all these great, amazing things that we could have in the future, I bet we wouldn't be as freaked out about it. I just have to think that makes a big difference because we've been primed for decades that the future is scary. It's going to be Terminator. It's going to kill us all. How do you have a really optimistic, bright future when that's all you've been told your whole life, right? Yep. And don't forget about Yahoo search engine. That was certainly supposed to be this big one, and it didn't quite work out like that, right? All right. Yeah, it's a great point, Nicholas. He's got unreleased music that he's apprehensive about putting out online because of data training, scraping, right? It's definitely something I think about too, Nicholas, because I'm working on my own original music. I am going to put it out online. I actually don't care if they take it or train off of it because I want to it's for me. It's whatever. If they're going to train off of it, they're going to train off of it. But I want to put it out for my own selfish needs. But it's definitely something I think about. I'm like, some of those days where I'm not feeling so good, I'm like, I don't want to put my music on the internet just so that some AI company can scrape it. Like, it definitely is a thought. It's certainly going to play into our role, into our world. And I think that actually is something that the Copyright Office or the courts rather should consider if they're going to go into this fair use department of like, all right, if you say that that's fair use, what are the implications for copyright creators, music makers, and everybody? Are we going to want to release music publicly as much into the world as we have if we just now know that we're basically feeding our competitors all day long for free without compensation? That might open up, one opportunity for that would be I could see new like sub-internets or alternative internets opening up that are not open and not open for data scraping or for training off of AI models. Where people might want to be a little bit more private with the music they release. And they're not necessarily trying to get the entire world to hear it, but they want to get people that are really, fans of the craft of art, of songwriting and of music. Or maybe there will be new streaming platforms where it'll have a sort of data protection clause in it to say, hey, if you work with us and put your music here, it will not be trained off of because we have these safeguards in place or whatever. I don't know. There could be a whole bunch of solutions that we have to keep in mind for that. Ryan said he's timid to reach out to libraries, feel like your base catalog is too generic. If you feel that way, you might be right. And it probably would make sense for you to kind of dive back into your sessions, see if you can try to create a little bit more unique a twist to it, maybe create a hybrid approach where you're sort of combining one style of your music to something else. I mean, there's so many different suggestions we could have for you, but until we obviously hear your music, we don't really know where to go. But I trust that gut. Your gut's telling you, I don't know if I got something here. I'd probably just listen to that. It's probably there for a reason. It's not always true. I have had interaction with people who have amazing music and they don't think they do, and so they don't submit to libraries. And I keep trying to bang their head against the wall. Send your damn music to a library. You have amazing music. It doesn't matter if the first one says no. I've had many that said no to me. Just send your music out to these companies. You've got something amazing. You just need to get that acceptance letter so you realize what I see in you, which is that you do have value. So again, I can't really say, obviously, without hearing the music. Yeah, and Pete's saying, let's say that AI has to pay royalties, then it becomes basically another player in the sync landscape. Yeah, and that's kind of my utopian bright future that I could see, where we still use human music in a lot of our opportunities, but for the opportunities that they want to use, AI generated music, might be a little less expensive, but there's still going to be royalties associated with it for us. And I just actually posted on my LinkedIn a paper where there are some very smart people talking about an actual specific way to do that. There are some drawbacks to it. It's not like a full for sure thing, but they definitely have devised a sort of strategy to be able to compensate copyright owners for generative works that combine multiple copyright owners' work. So it's kind of cool. And I'll take 2 more questions and then I'll pop off here. Thank you guys for the 61 of you guys. Hey, I still only have 26 likes, 61 viewers. Come on, click that like button. Get that up to at least 40. See if we can get it up to 40. JMO saying, do you think there will be an actual legit sync using AI soon? Red Lobster didn't count. Red Lobster did count, kind of, I guess. Don't know. I mean, I can see it happening for a lower budget thing, but I don't know if they're going to take that risk. If anybody is going to use AI in the sync licensing space, it'll be a small budget, kind of like fly under the radar sort of a thing. It's not going to be like NBC, ABC, or something like that. It's going to be a smaller company to see, can we get away with this? And maybe they're willing to take that risk. So what skills will composers to do custom works, not for libraries? Let's see. What skills needed to have composers which does custom? Sorry, I can't understand that question. Troy, I don't know what have I been recently because of this. The first of me hearing about the computer taking over music doesn't faze me because I'm the type of person that sees the glass not even half. All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Hopefully this gives you some indication of where I think you guys should be thinking about going, if you should be going. But think about it, because what's the verdict? NRise, you're kind of late to the game. Watch the beginning of this video. There is no clear answer to that kind of stuff. You got to make a call for yourself. You got to decide how much you're willing to put into this. It's still a small number of people that are going to survive with or without AI, and much less with AI. But there's still a case to get started, to rack up your placements and secure those passive income royalties, as I indicated. But there's no right answer, so I can't make the decision for you. Hopefully this video helps you start thinking, getting the gears going, and I'm glad this felt like therapy. Really cool. We went kind of all over the place today, guys, so thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we got to 40 likes, so that'll be my cue to step off the stage here and let you guys get back to your day. So hang in there, and like I said, stay tuned. Next week I think I'm going to put out probably one of the most spicy videos I've ever done, which may actually go viral. We'll see, but I think I got something really, really cool to share with you all. But anyways, have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. We'll talk to you guys soon.